Many people train their bodies to get fit, but put far less effort into their mental health. But the truth is, sooner or later, you're faced with stress or longer phases of uncertainty. And that's usually when you start noticing how quickly tension builds up. And suddenly you find yourself panicking or snapping the moment when things don't go as planned. But what if I told you there are proven ways for staying focused and composed when things get intense? So, in this video, I want to share 3 practices to build your mental fitness and maintain your mental health, which you can apply to any challenging situation you might be in right now. In my own life, I reinvented myself and changed careers multiple times. Moved from finance to photography, into fashion and the luxury business, and now into part-time content creation, often starting from zero. And I wasn't always sure about my direction or the next step. But what helped me stay steady through all of that was learning how to train my mind more deliberately so I didn't spiral every time I doubted myself. A lot of us think we are already working on the way we respond to things. We reflect, we analyze, or try to understand ourselves better. And then we wonder why, under pressure, we still react the same way. I was exactly like that. I spent so much time reading books and trying to think my way out of being stressed, as if knowing why I was anxious would suddenly make it stop. But it didn't. I realized I was just overthinking my own thoughts. What I didn't realize back then is that understanding a problem isn't the same as actually training yourself to handle it. Because most of the time, we're actually conditioning our mind just in the opposite direction. Think about a simple situation. You make a small mistake at work, or a conversation doesn't go the way you expected. And later that day, it keeps replaying in your head. And you go over what you said, what you should have said, or what could happen next. That already feels like reflection, but in reality, it's repetition. Because every time you will play a mistake in your mind, circles the same problem over and over, or walk through worst case scenarios in vivid detail. You're doing mental reps. And those reps matter because they quietly shape your mind and how you respond to pressure. So even though it feels like you're thinking things through, you are often training your mind toward being constantly on edge. And now guess, that's essentially what worrying and overthinking are, not just random thoughts, but repeated mental patterns. So over time, those patterns stack up. They start to affect everything: your decisions, your confidence, influence how you think, and it make it nearly impossible to stay clear-headed when things feel uncertain. So the way out of that is building mental fitness. In psychology, a big part of that is what's called proactive coping. In simple terms, it just means you don't wait for the stress to hit, you prepare for it in advance. And that's exactly why the first technique works so well, which is visualization. Pilots, for example, rehearse flights in their mind, including those moments where something goes unexpectedly wrong. If an alarm goes off, they don't panic or start guessing. They check the trigger, confirms what's happening, and communicate it clearly. So even in worst case situations, they don't overreact emotionally. They handle it by doing exactly what they've trained. And that is the power of visualization. Now, how can you actually apply this in your own situation? Let's say you are going into an interview or you have to give a presentation or a speech. Most people rehearse the content and still feel thrown off the second they walk into the room, not because they don't know what to say, but because their nervous system goes into alarm mode. So here's what you do instead. You take the information you already have, your notes, your structure, your points you want to make, and instead of just memorizing them, you place them into the situation. Now imagine you're walking into the room, see the people sitting there, you see yourself in front of them, starting to speak and moving through what you want to say. Get a sense of how fast the conversation might move and how the energy in the room might feel. And you also picture the ending, finishing your last point, saying thank you, shaking hands, and leaving the room. So you're going through that sequence several times in your mind until it starts to feel familiar. And when the time comes and you step into it for real, you aren't walking into the unknown anymore because you've already rehearsed the environment. It's almost as if you've been there before. And that's why this kind of rehearsal helps you stay steadier and more confident in the moment. The next part of mental fitness has less to do with preparation and more to do where your attention lives day to day. Because not every challenge gives you a clear moment to rehearse. A lot of pressure builds in between when nothing is fully decided yet and you are waiting for answers. It's those transitions where you don't know how things will turn out. You worry, you try to think your way out of the uncertainty. I did that too. And what I learned is this: you can't think uncertainty away, but you can decide where your attention goes while you are in it. During my own transitions, I stopped asking, where will I end? Because there was no answer yet. Instead, I asked, what can I build right now that will still matter and help me later? Because even if the situation is out of your hands, what you build is still yours. So if you're in that situation, put your attention into things that compound. That might be deepening a skill you already have, or it could be writing, even if it's just notes, ideas, or reflections. Sometimes it's reading things that help you think clearer, or building something small on the side, like a project, a piece of content, or a portfolio. It's about choosing a stable reference point for yourself because when your attention is there, your mind calms down too. And you stop spinning in questions you can't answer yet. Instead, you are doing something that quietly moves you forward, even if you can't see the outcome immediately. And while you're doing all of this, there's one more thing that really matters because even if your attention is anchored on the right things, you're still human. You still wake up with heavy thoughts, sometimes still feel tension in your body, and some days just feel a bit too much. That's why it's also important to slow things down and reset a bit. Think of it as maintenance for peace of mind. And for me, that's movement, going to the gym or just going for a walk. Or sometimes it's just building something simple and fun. The goal isn't to distract yourself, but to bring your system back down after long hours of thinking and learning. And when you give yourself those moments, you allow yourself to enjoy life again, even when things aren't fully clear yet. I think a lot of us wait for the situation to be fixed before we let ourselves relax. But transitions take time. And if you wait for everything to make sense before you feel grounded, you aren't really solving anything. You're just draining yourself. So it really comes down to these three practices: knowing when to prep, where to focus, and when to reset. That's what stops you from just being reactive and helps you stay composed even when you're right in the middle of it. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, could you do me a favor? Let me know which of these three practices resonated most with you. You can just drop a word in the comments. I read them all, and your feedback really helps me decide which topics you want me to tackle next for you. And if you're ready to keep going, this video here on building confidence is a great one to continue with. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you there.